Hi there, this is Josh from Literary Gladiators, and today I'm here with a book review. I started doing the Mock Newbery List of books that I acquired from the said list, which came from Goodreads. I decided to acquire 7 of the books, and I'm making my way through them. And the first one that I read and completed is Light and Air by Mindy Nichols Wendell. And this has to do with an instance that takes place during the concerns involving tuberculosis. During the 20th century, in particular, this story takes place in 1935 and 1936, but TB had been a concern especially during the late 19th century and into the early 20th century until medical solutions were able to address the concerns involving tuberculosis and other diseases and viruses and whatnot, be it measles or polio. But in this particular story, we follow Hallelujah Grace Newton. She goes by the name Hallie, and she lives with her parents, Graham and Isabel Newton. Her mother is very kind-hearted and hard-working, while her father is strict and overprotective. Graham Newton works as a high school history teacher, and you can definitely see that reflection in his personality. Hallie even mentions the fact that when he's helping with homework, he shows much more enthusiasm when he's helping with history than he is with math and English. Isabel eventually becomes sick, and she tests positive for tuberculosis and has to be put in J.N. Adams Tuberculosis Hospital, which leaves her father taking care of her, and his attitude really becomes more intense. At school, despite the fact that she's tested negative, she is being viewed as a pariah, except by her best friend Thelma, who is a very supportive and loyal best friend of hers. And then you have her teacher, Mrs. Rockwell, who to me is very self-serving and is simply looking to cover her rear end and make it to the end of the day. So she really doesn't do much to help Holly. Holly decides to go see her mother because she's being constantly told that she cannot do so because of her illness and how contagious she is and how sick she is. She decides to trek out on her own, but then it causes her to get even more sick, and she ends up going to J.N. Adams. But she is in a different department. First, she has to progress in order to get better, and then she's able to stay with other patients. The two girls here that wave at her, their names are Flossie and Vivian. They're the ones that wave at her when she is isolated from everybody. But it turns out that they're the ones that they're two of her roommates when she's able to recover with others, and then Rita is the other one that stays with them. And then she also meets Eddie and Sam, and she really begins to develop a nice bond with everybody. They become very closely knit, and they seem much more warm and welcoming than she ever had at the school, save for Thelma. And her other friends were pretty friendly with her until her mother tested positive for TB. But this book is very knowledgeable on the subject of tuberculosis. You can tell that Mindy Nichols Wendell did a good job with her research. There were things that I questioned as far as certain details, but I was just wondering about. I'd have to do more research on The Wonderful Wizard of Oz and the impact that that book had had on this generation, because the film came out in 1939, and I know that that really had an impact. But I need to do more. I know that, like with Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, they looked relatively similar to the 1951 animated Disney film. But I thought this was a very well-written and a well-paced book. I like how the characters are very fleshed out and very well-developed, and how they continue to develop as the story progresses, and in positive ways. Holly's vehemence of having to see her mother got a little bit agitating, because I started to ask myself, is she really concerned about the well-being of her mother, or is she more concerned about herself and having her mother in her life? To her defense, she's going on 11 years old, so it's not like she still has a lot of mental progression to do, and I think that as the book progresses, she's able to do so. But I was questioning, what are you doing sometimes as far as her having to see her mother is concerned, because they were in separate buildings. I think that it would have been interesting to see more take place at the hospital, but I think that this did enough to tell the story that it wanted to tell, and I think that it concluded very well. I gave this book 4 stars out of 5. I do think that this is worth reading. And I think that it really does depict tuberculosis in an honest way. And there are moments that are going to leave you in intensity and in sorrow. But I think that this was a very fulfilling book, and I think that it is appropriate for its target audience. Thank you for tuning in to this video, and for now, keep reading.